Thank you for coming. Barbara is the Communication Director, Head of Arts and Culture of Deloitte. She leads the firm communication strategy and cultural initiatives. You merge like different worlds. You work among different typologies among business, artists, museums, cultural institutions. Davide Monteleone is one of the most international climate photographers and visual artists. He has a long-term project investigating the relation between geography, power, memory, and social transformation. We had the opportunity to visit his exhibition, just a reduction of the exhibition, a cameo of the exhibition. This is Critical Mineral Geography of Energy. That was the Deloitte Photo Grant Award 2024 in the spaces of Procuratie by Generali, where we have the very first three days of the Climate Week. And Paolo Naldini is director of Città dell'Arte, Fondazione Pistoletto, that is obviously an international recognized center founded by Michelangelo Pistoletto. As said before, we opened this Climate Week with a flash mob. The very first day on Wednesday morning at 9:30 in the morning, we did like a third paradise, a terzo paradiso in San Marco Square. And then Michelangelo had the opportunity to give us a speech in a conversation with Cardinal Baggio, that is one of the Vatican leaders for culture. So, as Giovanna Melandri was introducing us, and the topic is it like art just cosmetic, it's just an ornamental, or it could be in infrastructure? If you remember, like the first remarks from Marcus is when they opened this impressive place, this incredible. This is not just a place; it's a project shaping the world. Everyone will say, Thyssen-Bornemisza is opening something about oceans, but oceans, you know. So you have like both sides, the scientific side and the art world saying, yeah, but what does it mean? But why? Why are you digging that topic? It could be like from food to space. So we have a lot of prejudices. That is a little paradoxical and a little ridiculous sometimes when you have prejudices into the cultural world. But also the cultural world is divided into prejudices. So we try with this panel, we will dig into the possibility how arts and culture can help, can foster imagination and going there, speaking about emotions. Emotions that are the very first part of the change. So, Barbara, you are the head of one of the largest companies in the world. So a company just in Italy, just to make numbers, we have no numbers behind us, but it's like 16,000 people just in Italy. So you have hundreds of thousands of people consulting, shaping the future of many organizations that are companies, big enterprises, people that are impacting the world. So those kind of companies that are no more companies, that are like states or they are like institutions, you have like a great responsibility toward the future, toward the planet, toward our topics. So larger organizations increasingly engage with the sustainability and cultural narratives. It's becoming like a common partner for that. So you just launched also the Arts and Culture program. So what is the role that an institution and a company can play in making environmental challenges more visible and understandable? There was a remark, just the last thing, but there was a remark from you just before this session, they was telling me, yeah, but where are companies? We need companies. We need those kind of people. So,
thank you, first of all, Cristiano, for inviting me. Well, as you said, we consider ourselves as Deloitte an important part of the discussion. The business world is an important part of the discussion. Deloitte has been investing in arts and culture for more than 10 years. And what we have learned is that it's not just about philanthropy. Well, we do a lot of investment. For example, one of them is with the Città dell'Arte in an education program. But what we want to do with this new program that is arts and culture is to put arts and culture at the center of the discussion. Use the art and culture platform, arts and culture language to complete the discussion. As Cristiano said, we are 16,000 people at Deloitte in Italy. We have something like 12,000 clients. Half of the people who work at Deloitte are less than 30 years. We spoke with institutions, we speak with universities, we speak with the Venice Climate Week. We are at the center of an important circles of stakeholders. So, what does it mean for us to include arts and culture in our discussion with all these stakeholders is what we've done with Davide Monteleone work. Davide's work, and he will go deeper into it, is about sustainability. And his work raises questions, highlight risks. And these are, again, part of the discussion. We presented how Deloitte is present during the has been present during the Venice Climate Week. We presented a report in which we measured the cost of inactivity, let's say finance, analysis. We signed an agreement with the United Nations on the cooperation, private and public institution. But we had to complete the discussion with something that, from a more emotional view, but at the same time, a more, how can I say, specific point of view, managed to, again, arise other questions and highlight risks that are about the sustainability of the energy transition. So our point is not to consider just philanthropy, not to consider arts and culture just, as you said, as something purely aesthetic, which is absolutely important. I mean, we invest a lot of money in sustaining arts and culture, but the step we want to do with this new program is using the language of arts and culture to enter the discussion. Not as something, as you said, Cristiano, completely isolated. Arts and culture put forward contents, point of view that must be considered inside the business world. The business world needs another point of view.
So that's very important, I guess, because if you think that you can impact just with one company 12,000 clients.
Yeah.
So only in Italy you have 12,000 clients. It means that they are speaking with big insurances, big banks, tech company, people in fashion.
All the sectors.
All those typologies. What does it mean? So this is to enter not just, as Michelangelo will say, from protesta to proposta, from protest to proposal. So it's a way to enter in the real topic, because we can change the reality, not just with our consensus, but when we enter in the real consensus. And the consensus is made by the economics. And this is like driving the history. So to have like a company that is like putting, one of the points is arts and culture as an infrastructural point, I guess is very important so that's something that it gave us out of hope. From the other side, we have Città dell'Arte, then we will arrive to the artists. From the other side, we have Città dell'Arte, Fondazione Pistoletto, and also for Michelangelo, Michelangelo Pistoletto is one of the greatest, not just Italian artists, but one of the most well-recognized worldwide artists. When he left, in a sort, he left his ego working for the society. Say, okay, I've done the history of art, for sure, in all the books of history of art of this century, the last century. But what matters to him was like to create a new role also for the art. So putting art at the center of the society, of an economical, a political, and also fashion conversation. And he created Città dell'Arte in Biella, and during like the last 30 years was able to enable a lot of projects and pilots that are year after year changing the history. So how can an artist and an institution like yours, that is no more just a foundation, is a large project, a wider project that is just a foundation, what do you have to do with climate issues and activism on our planet? Paolo Naldini.
Thank you, Cristiano. First of all, let me acknowledge two entities that I feel grateful to. One is Deloitte, because they will be listened to. We are not. We see that the finance people are not listening to us, but they will listen to you. So thank you for this bridge that you are doing. And TBA 21, and this Ocean Space for doing their job, what you're doing, have been doing in these years, groundbreaking. And it allowed me to come to Venice and not just celebrate a flash mob as a decorative dance around the decision makers, but to conjure up with decision makers that really matters, who are the ones that have been gathered in the policy lab on the recognition of the rights of the lagoon, a program that has been running for more than 2 years, and that touches upon a very relevant frontier in the law making, in the creation of the rights of the very infrastructure that regulates the normativity that we have to develop the capitalist and financial system upon. We are also part of this, been working with them for about 6 years now. The rights of nature movement, they are opening a new, entirely new chapter in the way we organize our being with the planet. So I don't want to delve too much into that, but just to acknowledge that it is very relevant for me. Then I think it's time we exit the cave. We are still in the cave, in Plato's cave. We are still looking at these images.
It's the third time in the week that we are speaking about Platon, so yes, that's remarkable.
We are sick as well, I understand. But we are still commenting on the show, on the spectacle that is astonishing us, or perhaps somebody is very excited about what they are seeing. But it's time we stand up, turn our back to the spectacle, get out of the cave. And if you want to change what is on the wall at the end of the cave, you have to change what people are doing in front of the cave, out of the cave. And that is exactly what we have been doing in these 30 years since Città dell'Arte was incepted. But we made a mistake. Let me share with you our mistake as a lesson that maybe can be helpful. We thought that allowing the change through providing us all with new paradigms, with new concepts, with new symbols would be enough. So we created this third paradise metaphor, the 3 circles. You can also find in the Fragilient booklet that you have published. And we brought that on as many boards as we could. And eventually it even went up to the orbit, thanks to ESA, European Space Agency, ASI, the Italian one, when Paolo Nespoli brought the symbol and broadcast it with a wonderful photograph. He's a very good photographer. Up from there, we brought it to the United Nations as a permanent installation in Geneva. We brought that to more than 2,000 locations, but that was not enough. It was a good start, because to think anew, you need to have new tools to think. You cannot use only old metaphors and concepts and images. So what then we realized that we needed, and I'm coming to your point, Cristiano, was to creating ourselves the impact that we were advocating from everyone else. So let them do their job, good job that they're doing, hopefully, but it's time and how are we going to tackle that? A city of art is not enough. City of art is the name we are given ourselves, Città dell'Arte. We need much more than that. We need a state of art. And when I say a state of art, this is exactly what we are doing. We have created a constitution for a planetary state of art, not a nationalistic one. It's the whole planet that we recognize as the world. When we talk about the world, we'll talk of what we make anthropocenly, can I use this expression? What we make of the environment. It's not the planet. It's not the planet Aqua either. In order to accomplish that, we needed a constitution. We wrote a constitution. We have the major Italian juror, Mr. Professor Zagabelski, who is accompanying us into this quest. We are inviting some of the major companies, and Deloitte can be very a good friend along this line, to take in this call on the 21st century. It's not just making good CSR projects, is to understand that we need a new renaissance in order not to have an extinction, has been rightly said. And then how do we make that? We make that through allowing a framework to deliver a new, as has been said, set of values, a new vision or new visions on the planet. And exactly as has been done here by the group of activists that I mentioned before, it is being done in many places. We have more than 10 working sites from Seoul to Cuba. Cuba is the one that you have in the beautiful
in the internal
picture,
double page of the Journal of the Week.
From Biella, which is a very small town between Turin and Milan that can serve as a prototype, as has been said. We need prototypes, and that's exactly what we are doing. Tens and tens of prototypes engaging millions of people and thousands of constituencies in this approach that I can symbolize by the name, the title of an exhibition we started in 2002, Critique is not enough. Action is needed. Maybe that's not enough either, but at least it's moving towards. And in order to get there, I would like to share a comment with our friends from Deloitte and this great artist and photographer. Mind where you distribute your sensible, your produce. Because if you distribute it into channels of distributions that are totally already meant, so they already mean in time, you are not going to deliver the message in a transformative way that you want. So I admired and
Paolo, we have just 12
advocate.
minutes.
1 minute? Even less. Bring this to the boards. Bring this to the consultants. If your work that is opening eyes on the extractivist system is not only going into the art world, into the communication world, but it is going into the boards of 12,000 companies, that is going to be transformative. Thank you.
Thank you, Paolo. We will come back. I would like just to show you. This is the image of the third paradise in front of La Habana. And you say, okay, it's beautiful. So there are like those with Michelangelo and the Città dell'Arte did with Raul Castro. These are like the three circles of the third paradise. But what happened? That, in a way or another, there was like this representation, this performance by Michelangelo. And the day after, Mr. Obama called Castro, because it has a sort of resonance, a global resonance. Just this image, a very simple one. Local boats creating circles. So you say, okay, it's nothing. The day after, Mr. Obama called Raul Castro and said, we need to recover that conversation. We need to open a conversation. So I guess this is like an invisible power of the emotion of art. So that's why we put like in this very first journal.
And let me say that still now, after 11 years, there are about 300 organizations in La Habana that are constantly meeting up, like the Policy Lab that I mentioned here in Venice, and they are delivering practices of engagement and change.
So that's a very simple, but a very powerful, I guess, political act that happened, just with like an image made with local boats. We spoke about caves. Paolo put us into caves, but you went into caves for many, many years, because the work of Davide Monteleone is to investigate territories shaped but invisible for us, but very visible system of powers and urgencies from the global north to the global south. So when we use a BYD or a Tesla, there is someone else providing critical and rare earth and rare materials from another side of the world that we do not consider. So what is the responsibility, like a photographer, of an artist like you, when facing a phenomena like climate change, which are often slow, diffuse, and very difficult to represent? So your work is very, I guess, very powerful. So you cannot consider it after seeing it.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for being here. I know it's lunchtime, so we are all hungry, but I'm trying to be short. I actually do a very humble work, and the humble work is to translate. So first I want to say that my work basically, it comes out as a photography and visual effect. So there's photography, there's video, there's data visualization, but in fact everything starts from economic data. So it starts from the science. I know how much lithium you need to produce to sustain the energy transition. I know how much cobalt you need to provide to make a Swiss company rich enough and to sustain the energy transition. So the work that I do is based on translating those data and information into something that people can see more presently, or if you want, more emotionally, as we say. And this is not that difficult, in fact, but it does take a lot of responsibility, because when you start touching this kind of theme, including the problem of climate change, you're not touching only the problem of climate change or the problem of the amount of lithium or the problem of the amount of cobalt, but you start touching very complicated issues that are connected to the global economy, to new form of colonialism, to exploitation, to extraction. And this requires that you have to not only engage with that terms, but also to be responsible in the form of representation that you have. So all this to say that you have, I think I have two tasks in my work. One of the tasks is the translation, So transforming these things into something that people can see and can kind of engage, eventually emphasize somehow, empathize. The other problem is the outreach. I come from the tradition of journalism, and for many years my outreach was the magazine of newspaper, which unfortunately is losing a little bit of the power that we're discussing here. And I discovered that doing this kind of work, which are like a little bit more layered, so you see the photograph, but once you see the photograph, maybe you want to see the video. And once you see the video, maybe you're curious about something and you want to see the data. And when you see the data, maybe you want to engage yourself and search, make your own research or search for other similar work. That thing allowed me to reach out to completely different kind of environment. So you have the general public that probably see these things on the newspaper, but then you have institution company like a business company like Deloitte who decide to embrace these things. As I was discussed, they bring it to the board of some other company, they bring it here, we start talking, we talk about this because Deloitte brought it here, and they managed to see within my work something that becomes a conversation that generally create a critical thinking. And then when you have a critical thinking, you can actually say, do what Paolo was saying, start acting. So this is like the process that I'm humbly responsible for with very little work. I think it's like not a complicated task. I just do what I like, and I like to represent this kind of thing. The thing that we have to avoid is to try to simplify the art in that sense, because it's very easy to see things and just imagine, oh, this is beautiful. Sometimes it's not even important to understand how much work is behind that process, but it's very important to try to understand what you're seeing is actually evoking into you, and what eventually decide to act as a human being, and then eventually as a collective, and then eventually in kind of collaboration with whatever they are, art institution, business company, corporation, political entities, and so on and so on. So I think the importance of this, of my work, but I think of every artist, is to have a side of activism into it that push in the direction of having the most effective outreach that you can have. And this is, if this is gone through aesthetic, welcome to them. It's not a problem.
So we have just the last 4 minutes. I want to have like your point, your urgency. Which is your urgency? Which is your main task for you and leading a global organization? So which is the main task that you have in front of you? What do you want to do exactly in the next 5 years, like to do an impact?
Well, I don't know if the translation makes any sense, but in my next year, I would like to be like a Chinese drop. Does this expression exist in English? To keep saying, to keep trying to involve people inside Deloitte, because once the leadership understands the importance to include arts and culture in the conversation, to use in a very, we could say, opportunistic way, arts and culture to spread the conversation, then if you're convinced inside the company, it's easy to do the job. And I profoundly believe in what we are launching with arts and culture, and I'm honored to be part of a company as Deloitte who listen and want to improve this kind of approach.
Yeah, so this conversation will work only if it's always win-win. So this is your Chinese drops. I'm sure you are very determined to pursue this issue that is very important. Paolo?
Well, the State of Art will deliver a program that is called the Preventive Peace. Most of us are unfortunately aware of preventive war, which is such a crazy and idiot expression. How can you prevent something by doing it? You prevent war by making war. But we have been sold this. And we need, on the contrary, to gather in hundreds of constituencies throughout the whole planet and allow the collective intelligence that already is there. We don't need to take it from Mars or from other kind of Mars advocates. We have it in our communities, but we need to allow it to express and emerge the collective intelligence, the same that Carlo Ratti celebrated last year when actually he devoted it to the Biennale of Architecture and invited at the Arsenale, the Third Paradise, as the opening exhibit. So preventive peace throughout the world is going to be our major task, and feel free to let us inquire more about that.
Davide?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but I think I will continue this what I do, and I'm really grateful that I have the occasion. I mean, I had the occasion to work with Deloitte, and together with Deloitte, I hope in the future with other companies that are sensible to this kind of conversation. I think gathering of different kind of sector, I will say, it's potentially very useful, if not the only way, to have a serious and convincing conversation about the direction we have to get as a humanity. So it's the only reason why I do this job, and I'm very happy that I shifted from a very mono-channel to a multi-channel, multi-layered, trans whatever media possibility we have, and then we try to resist somehow.
Thank you. The first day of the Climate Week, we invited Lisipria. She is an activist. She started when she was 6 years old. Now she's turning 14. She looks like 84 to me, but in reality she's 14. And so next year we will bring here in Venice 1,000 young activists from all over the world. And when she was addressing her speech at the very first day, so we have like mountains, like from Jeremy Rifkin to Madani, so very important names in our, we said before with Marcus, erotic bourgeoisie, so it's very, this cultural consensus. And she was just asking us to act, 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 act. We want answers that are not arriving. So that's from our side what's next. And what's next in a few minutes is the lunch. That is for sure a wonderful Venetian lunch. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being with us.